Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Jfry Craig, Creative Director at Simple Advertising. How are you doing today, sir?
Very good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you start your own business, get into this business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today as the Creative Director at Simple.
I mean, at the start, I was a photographer, and I put myself through my master's degree by doing photography to pay the bills. And then I realized really quickly that when I was giving photos off to agencies, that the people who were doing Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, creating decks out of them, were actually making a whole lot more money than me. And so that became the impetus to learn the tools so that I could provide a more comprehensive photography service. And then out of that, I started doing websites for films, for MTV, for Alliance Atlantis, and then sort of realized that everyone's aesthetic kind of has a glass ceiling, if you will. And so I migrated from Toot Boy Studios, which was what that was called, and created Simple, where we could go after larger clients and really focus on not it being one person's individual design concepts and creating a business out of that.
It sounds like at the start, you learned leverage pretty early on in photography, and then the next stage, and then realized that they had to leverage and make more money doing the next phase there, and then you progress on that level of leverage up to eventually also your own agency.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then also, as we found at Simple, like every 3 years there's a new trend, right? And we have to keep up with that. And so the concept of we started as a web development company, ended up being an ad buy company, moved into analytics, and then now obviously AI is a really important concept that companies want with regards to the reporting. And so every couple of years you have to learn and master a new skill.
How long has Simple been for?
About 20 years now.
You've seen a few different changes then from, I guess, social media really blowing up, but now AI coming around very fast now.
Yeah, like red Flash was still a thing.
Wow. So what do you think now, though, in AI coming around? Do you think it's going to be more influential than, say, social media and like the dot-com era? Or do you think some people do think that it's a bubble that's going to burst, so what side of the fence are you on?
I believe that it's a radical research tool for us. And I'm also a little bit concerned about junior employees and their ability to come on board with different companies, to be honest with you. Because like I know our dev team can use ChatGPT or prefer, and it fundamentally replaces a junior developer at zero cost. And so for me, that would just be my concern for people getting educated right now in this field.
Definitely, the landscape is definitely changing, so I feel like it's definitely going to change over time. People need to adapt, and over the course of history, when things have definitely changed, people have to adapt and it's created very quickly. So we need a lot of across the board, really. There's nobody that's mass copying this out.
Completely agree. And so like right now we've got 4 interns working for us. And to me that's a really important educational aspect of what our company does. Because you come out of school, you don't really know what you're going to do, what the real world is like. And so creating hard skills and soft skills for them is important. And I think those soft skills are going to become really important for everyone moving forward as we start to use AI more and more.
What inside Simple, what labels or like where the bar, where your skills, web design, web design, where are the most focused on where the most on?
Strategic. I help businesses eliminate business group silos fundamentally. And so there'll be a marketing team, an operation team, whatever team. They're all speaking different languages. They all talk about different KPIs. And so my job is to bring them all together so that we're all running in the same lane, speaking the same language, and understanding that. And then I often refer to it like a blender, where I pull a button, and then there's the action that happens. So I've got 8 people working on it. And so if I'm not there to pull the blender, nothing really happens. And so that's my perspective of what I do.
So make the business work in unison.
Correct.
So what does your day-to-day look like inside the business?
I mean, typically, I mean, it's really changed over the course, like post-COVID, let's just call it that. I now have 6 or 7 meetings a day, and before I would have 6 or 7 meetings a week, and they would all be in person, for instance. And so the meeting demand is really heavy, but fundamentally it's sitting down with the whole team, having everyone understand what the goals for the day are, i.e. milestones or what they're working on, and then dealing with clients after that completely. It's actually I used to get a lot more done in the past, but now I feel like clients feel like they're better served, which is a weird thing to say in this digital realm. Yeah.
So Geoffrey, what are the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market today?
I mean, obviously AI is become a huge thing. I think I'm seeing downward trends, to be honest with you, and other things as well. I don't think social influencers are what they were 2 years ago. Like, I think a lot of people might disagree with me on that, but we're seeing less and less value out of it because I just think that there's so much content being created that it's difficult to stick out, and it's difficult to charge what people were being paid 2 or 3 years ago compared to now. So for me, those are two big things. From my perspective is, like, when we deal with relatively large companies, and so they want to see a 360 vision of their business, and it's not just marketing. So they want to understand revenue, they want to understand their ROI, the ROAS, etc., which I know are like old school terms, but we can really get down to the minutia right now based on how most people are doing things. I mean, using Power BI, Looker, Plateau, whatever you want to use. For me, that's a really big trend over the course of the last 2-3 years, is people having full understanding of where their money is and where the revenue is coming from.
No, definitely, I can see that will be super valuable for any sort of company, especially a big company where you could be losing things, losing a bit and not really noticing it because it's such a big company, and being able to rely on them these times will make them more productive to see when the ROI is coming and actually putting your money in this or effort into this is not giving you maximum back, whereas this is a massive difference as opposed to, especially with big companies.
Yeah, like we'll do pre-audits before acquisitions to understand if a company that someone is trying to acquire in order to create a larger footprint, and provide them with insight into, we don't believe this company is making money even though we think that you're going to have a larger footprint, for instance.
So you do that for other companies, if they're going to take over an acquisition, you will go in forward and run an audit and then give a report back to that company.
Correct.
So they're definitely trying, it's obviously being in the business for trust, that's a big job.
Yeah, but I mean, numbers are numbers, right? And so, like if you're acquiring a company that you believe is going to add 20% to your revenue, and then we go through and do an audit and realize that it's going to do minus 5% on your revenue, and you're going to spend $20 million to acquire that company, that's probably not in your best interest. And doing an audit for $30,000 or $50,000 or whatever it might be, it's just sort of like same idea as when you buy a home, right? You have a person inspect the home before.
The results is if you don't do it, much greater than what you pay to get
Yeah.
brainer.
So like we're in the middle of 5 different audits right now, which is weird. Like I said, like, we started as a print and website company, and we massively migrated into revenue reporting, auditing, etc.
So do you still do websites?
Mm-hmm.
And you find it like with AI as becoming
It depends on the type of site, but definitely, like as I hinted earlier, that it's much easier to use ChatGPT as a junior designer than it is to educate a junior designer at this point, which is disappointing because I like having people in the office. But I also find that once you educate an AI system effectively, it understands you. It understands where you want to go, where you've been before, and how it can respond effectively, especially if you quest it. And I also find that a lot of junior people coming out of school have relatively little hard skills, and I can teach an AI platform to have hard skills over the course of a week. And so we're definitely amping up our AI game.
So would you say that's where you're leveraging AI the most in your company?
Research and dev, for sure. I think that it's important in the sense that culling information is a really brutal task, right? Like if you say you want to, like I've got a client and they want to conquest 10 other people, having a person do that conquesting task to get all that information, I mean, that work sucks. An AI can do it in 45 minutes when you give it the proper prompts. And so things like that. And so then we have that information, and then how do you build off that information? And that's where I want human skills. And so getting us past the start line is really important. Yeah. Absolutely. So like we'll use, let's say like on an SEO project, we'll use it. We'll do SEO keyword research. We'll jam that into, let's say ChatGPT. I'm just going to use that as a reference tool and say build a page structure based on this. It's going to be the most effective SEO structure that's available. It'll conquest X, Y, and Z sites. And then we'll have that page structure, but then I still want a human to write it because obviously Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo understands if it's written in AI or not. And then you want that emotional narrative flow that only happens from a human, i.e.
Yeah, I think they're the bane of most people's lives.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes you can still tell. Claude is really good, I feel like. Claude is a little bit better at sounding.
I mainly use it. But really I do think it is good for idea generation tool, whether it's the next step or right comparisons. You can figure out the same. So the force multiplier, if you're just getting to, okay, break this, like you are already doing the task, and then you get into the force multiplier, by
Yeah, and like we also use it here. You know how people used to create like, well, probably still do in Pinterest, create pin boards or whatever, mood boards, whatever that might be. And so we'll create a mood board, for instance, and then we'll get a couple of the images that we truly believe are like the ones that are inspiring us. We'll drop them into Firefly or whatever that might be, and get it to spin up 3 or 4 different versions to help us understand what a future photo shoot or video shoot might look like, just so that we can start getting ahead on the storyboard. And so that storyboarding concept is really important, and it's really sped that up. Yeah, I mean, I've never done steroids, but I assume that's what it's...
I can see what it is. Yeah. So, Jeffrey, what is working well in simple thing about the moment, and what are you still doing yourself?
I mean, we're a boutique firm, so people come to us to be more important, let's say, than a large agency, and they like the personal touches that we provide. The one thing that I would say is, like, the friction, to your point, is that we'll have people who come, learn, train here, and then large agencies will hire them away from us because they're providing perks that we can't provide as a boutique agency, for instance. Like, they'll double up on their RSPs, different items like that. And so, to me, that after 20 years, I'm kind of used to that. But it is frustrating that we educate someone, get them super proficient for, let's say, 5 to 8 years, and then they leave us for double the pay to do kind of like crap work as opposed to interesting work like we're doing here.
So is that something like you've experienced more of lately, or kind of been steady?
It's been steady. I mean, we've got pretty good retention. Most of our employees work with us for 5+ years. A lot of them have been here for 15. So, but there's definitely a trend of that happening where the larger agencies in our city just hire our employees away and there's no way we can compete. And so that's a little bit frustrating. Yeah, that's my belief as well. But I mean, the nice thing about, again, pre-COVID, we used to have pop-up shops, but we'd take our staff to Montreal or whatever. We'd be there for 2 months. And so we were already prepared for video chats, having files that lived in the cloud, etc., which as soon as COVID came, we were already way ahead of the curve. And so one of the things that I would say hasn't become friction for us is migrating into this new world. As a result, basically none of our clients are in Calgary anymore. And so we deal with people all over the globe now because we had already successfully sort of bridged this gap, which to me is super valuable. Yeah, I mean, we ended up hiring up during COVID, and I think we're one of the rare companies that did that. Yeah, although some days I will admit, like, I'll wake up, work East Coast hours, which is 2 hours ahead of me. Then I'll finish working West Coast hours, which is an hour behind me. And then I'll have a meeting with someone in Singapore, which is in a new day. And there's some days where I kind of don't know what's going on, or day it even is.
Very, very rarely didn't get that happen because of my morning. I had a couple my afternoon. This is the other little bit. So when you wake up, I don't know. I just wake up on that time. You know what I mean? I always get on that time.
Yeah, like when almost all of our clients were in Calgary, I would come into the office at 10. And now it's twice a week I come in at 5 in the morning because I got to deal with people requesting stuff in other areas. Like, it's a little frustrating, but I enjoy the work.
Yeah, I suppose branching out from just that branching Calgary, trying to break down the barrier that you need to think this is the way to see that business.
Yeah, totally. I also like it because it's allowed me to travel more. So, a client kickoff meeting in Toronto or in Philadelphia or whatever it might be, those are always fun. So I really enjoy that. Yeah.
Jeffrey, if you wouldn't mind, would you walk me through the client acquisition process? How do you get these? How do you get clients signed up?
Interesting question. Lately, we've sort of gone through an RFP process to see if that was something that was tenable for our company. A lot of effort. We're not sure if that's something we want to continue. But typically, we don't do a lot of outsourcing or reach out. We've never had a salesperson. And so it's typically people who work with us speak highly of us and recommend us to people, or when they move on to another position in another company, they retain us because they have trust in us. And so it's actually something we've never had to work really hard at. And obviously there's ebbs and flows throughout a year, but this is the first real time during this RFP process for the last 6 months that we've actually tried to force work, if you will, as opposed to just have it sort of come to us,
Yeah.
which I feel happy about that.
Maybe unpack a little bit what RFP is.
Request for proposals, and so a lot of the ones that we're doing right now are really large contracts, as opposed to maybe tiptoeing into the water with the client where they're like, we'll give you a small website build or whatever that might be. And so they're comprehensive 2 or 3 year contracts with a company that nails down an exact budget, so let's say multi-million or whatever that we can dedicate resources to for that. And a lot of those RFP proposals are 50 to 60 pages, and so it's a 2-week period for the person we have on staff in order to complete them. So there's places online that or basically store all the RFPs, like RFP Mart and stuff like that. And so then you can read the RFP. Typically an RFP that they provide is 15 to 20 pages that tells you exactly what they want in the project or the proposal. And then it also says, here's how you submit, here's the expectations of the submission. So again, it's a long process. Like even just reading the proposal and understanding exactly what you need to do is grueling, let alone replying to it. And so I'm not sure if that's something we're going to continue to do. We've probably submitted 10 in the last 6 months, and we've won 2 of them, so that's valuable. But it's crap work, and the person that we had doing it, you could tell that some days was just like uninspired. And I don't like that feeling.
So with the RFP, with your referrals that brought in, how steady?
I would say we try to grow within our current client base more than we worried about acquiring new clients, if that makes sense. And so if we do a website for a restaurant franchise, let's say, then rather than trying to get another restaurant franchise to do a website, what we'll try and do is become involved in the reporting, become involved in their analytics, and become a massive cog for them. So if they've got 65 different restaurants, or a bolt-on for all these different ideas. So that's sort of our way. I believe they say that it's 10 times harder to get a new client than it is to retain a current client, or some number like that. I'm not sure exactly what that is. And we have firm belief in that concept. Correct. And so we have got client retention of 15 plus years for a lot of our clients as a result. And so like again, going back to COVID, some of our clients fired their entire marketing department and kept us on, knowing that we could accomplish everything that was required and that we'd do it efficiently.
That just speaks volumes.
They fired, furloughed. Yeah.
So Jeffrey, where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business?
Still operating?
That was a good start.
Yeah. I don't know. We're sort of ramping up a little bit right now. We've onboarded a couple of really cool clients. And so my whole goal, I'm trying to create a cooperative a little bit of a few different agencies with the idea that we can provide 24/7 services. And so we've got 3 other agencies on board across the globe. And so that when everyone wakes up in the morning, they come in and something has been done. And so a project that would typically take 6 months, I'm hoping we can roll out in 3 months, if you will. And that's not throwing a whack of people at it. It's just making sure that it's getting worked on 24 hours a day, if you will, using expertise from all the different agencies. And so we've created a matrix for what we're trying to do with the cooperative to understand, like, okay, like this is your forte, you're going to get this in a bid. This is our forte, this is the other person's forte, whatever that might look like. But just so that we can sort of scale up on some of the stuff that we're doing and really provide maximum service. And it also changes us from being strictly a boutique firm to having a team of 60 or 70. So all of a sudden we look like a proper agency, if you will. And so that's kind of my focus right now. Correct. Yeah, so we've got a couple teams in North America, one in Western Europe, one in Singapore, for instance, and so that ends up getting us pretty close to that 24/7 concept. And we all provide different services. And so if someone wants to do the SEO, someone wants to do the dev work, someone wants to do the design, someone wants to do another aspect, the ad buying, well, we can accomplish that all really quickly as opposed to 8-hour shifts, 5 days a week.
So they were all sort of, you could feel that you have one big client coming around that big and all of these different parts all around that.
Correct. And I like that idea because, like, again, one of the other companies that we have involved in the co-op is an agency in Calgary, and typically we would compete against each other. So as opposed to competing against each other, let's work together and blow the minds of this prospective client and win the job, split the money.
Yeah. So quality of service doing it that way, the outweighs.
Yes.
So Jeffrey, my final question is, if you could wave a magic wand, fix one bottleneck in your business, what would it be?
Subscription fees. I miss the old days when you would just buy an application and you could use it for a couple of years. And that's sort of a joke, but not really. I wish that more of our clients had project managers, to be honest with you. And so I think that project managing is an underrated resource, and we over-index in having to project manage for our clients when they should be doing it in-house as well. And that even when they do it in-house, it's often using like an Excel spreadsheet or something as opposed to a proper tool like Wrike or whatever it might be. And that would be the one thing that if I could change everything, every single one of our clients would have a project manager. And I think that everything would go faster. It's not a huge fee for, like, if you're $1 billion company, for $50,000 or $60,000 for a junior project manager would streamline everything. Well, and that's where I feel like they take advantage of our project managers a little bit. And without our project managers, they wouldn't really know what's going on. And then as a result, we end up project managing all of their employees as well. So we become kind of their in-house project manager. And then when you go to charge people for that, they're like, well, we didn't need that. You absolutely 100% did.
You just didn't know you needed it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's super consistent. It's pretty crazy.
Well, Jeffrey, thank you for coming on. I think we've got some great insights into your company and the industry. Where can my viewers and listeners reach out to you or something?
I'm on LinkedIn personally. Otherwise, I'm not on any social networks. I try and keep the brain free. Simple is on, I think, every social network. So they can go search us out. We're about to relaunch our website, and we also have Simple Insights, which is our data reporting and analytics company as well. And so they can check us out online as well.
Everybody like, comment, subscribe, and for any of your advertising needs, which you think brands out there, get a Simple Support. Again, thank you for coming on, and good luck with Simple Support. Going on. This for 20 years now. AI,
Hopefully. Thanks for your time. All right.